This is the second time Square Dude is the teacher, I think. Anyway, the bell rang again, same classroom, same chalkboard, same system. Square Dude walked in wearing the exact same outfit from yesterday. The tie, the black jacket, the backwards red hat, the black shorts, the red Nikes, and, and the chain. He stood at the board, looked at the names, and didn't change a thing. He says same rules. So this is the results from last time. Silence. I locked in for once before class even started. I pulled out my phone. Click. Picture. Click. Another one. Different angled. Eddie blinked. Are you doing a photo shoot? I'll say yes. Square Dude looked over slightly, saying, "What are you doing?" I shrugged, saying, "Documenting greatness." Eddie says, "Oh my gosh." Jealousy activated. Art Thomas sat down, opened up IBIS Paint X, my main app, by the way, started drawing fast, focused, actually trying. Maz leaned over. "You're drawing him? Hey, quit being nosy, my boy. Stop. I'm trying to cook here." I say, "Yeah." He says, "That's crazy." Aluminum glanced over. "That's actually kind of cool." Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Aluminum always gotta be that W. Maz is just being a hater right now. Eddie stared. "Are you serious right now?" "You too. You a hater too, bro." Meanwhile, pencil fan, empty disc because she was in the bathroom still. Square Dude glanced at the clock, then at her name, paused. Didn't mark anything yet. We'll see. Maz slightly worse today. Maz raised his hand. I'm paying attention. Square Dude says, "What did I just say?" Maz says something about rules. He says, "What rules?" He says, "Important ones." Silence. Square Dude picked up the chalk. Check. You giving him a check for being dumb? This is weird. He gave him a check. Square Dude really gave him a check for being dumb? Too late. Maz got his first check mark. Aluminum whispered, "That was fast." And then Aluminum Tom victim. Aluminum checked his phone. "What time is it?" No one answered. He says, "Is it 3 yet?" Eddie says, "It's literally morning." He says, "But like what time is it?" I say 8:12. He says, "Okay." 10 seconds later, "What is the time now?" Everyone says, "Bro." The reveal, I finished saying done. I stood up, walked over to Square Dude's disc, and I showed him the drawing. A clean digital sketch of him in his outfit. Detailed, accurate, stylish. Crop top, big t-shirt, Billy Irish. "I made this, and your outfit still goes hard." Silence. Square Dude looked at it, blinked again. He says, "That's good." I smiled, saying, "Can I use it as my TikTok profile?" Pause. Then a small sound, a quiet hit comes out of Square Dude's mouth. He actually giggled, saying, "Yeah." Eddie's eye twitched. Jealousy peak. What? Eddie stood up. She says, "Are you serious?" No one reacted fast enough. She lunged to tackle. I say, "Hey." I fell back. Phone almost dropped, saying, "What? Chaos." Squirtle stood up instantly, saying, "Eddie." Silence. He grabbed the chalk. Check. He says second warning for assault in the classroom. Eddie sat back slowly, saying, "Wow." Pencil Fan returns. The door opened. She ran in, saying, "I'm back." She sat down fast, looked around. Did I miss anything? Everyone yells yes. She looked at the board. Wait, why does everyone have checks? My bad. Then she looked at Square Dude. He looked back. She slowly slid down in her chair. "I'm not asking anything." Aluminum, still suffering, says, "What's the time now?" Maz yells, "Stop asking." He says, "I need to know." I'll say it's 8:39. He says this is torture. And then the craziest part is Square Dude actually smiled today once. And then continue on with this story because I actually like how this is going. The room settled for about 5 seconds. Square Dude faced the board again. Page 18. Chalk hit the board. Everyone actually opened up their books for once. Aluminum time loop continues. What is it now? Eddie snaps. Stop! Night checked. 8:52. He says okay. 5 seconds later. Now. Man says you just asked. Square Dude didn't turn, but his hand slowly reached toward the chalk. Aluminum immediately straightened up, saying, "I'm quiet." Maz digging deeper. Pause. Maz leaned forward again. "I'm walked in now for real this time." Square Dude says, "Define the term on the board." Maz looked at the board, looked back. It's a concept. Silence. A strong concept. Chalk lifted. Maz yells, "Wait!" Now Maz and Eddie got 2 chicks. Maz whispers, "I hate it here." Eddie jealousy arc continues. Eddie stared at me, then at Square Dude, then back at me. So are we just drawing teachers now? I strode, saying it was fire. It was though. Eddie crossed her arms, saying, "I could do that." No offense, but I've seen your art, and your art looks like a 5-year-old drew it. I'll say then do it. She says I will. She grabbed a pencil, started drawing, looked up every 2 seconds. Tried way too hard. Square Dude didn't even look at her. That made it worse. Pencil Fan suspicious silence. For once, she wasn't asking anything, just sitting there, too quiet. Eddie leaned over. "You good?" She says, "Yeah." She says, "Are you sure?" She says, "I'm not moving." She says, "Fair." Square Dude glanced at her. No check. She passed barely. Mid-class tension. Everything was weirdly calm. No yelling, no chaos, just occasional pencil sounds, page flipping, and Aluminum whispering 907. I yell, "You checked it yourself." He says I needed confirmation. Eddie's second attempt, art edition. Eddie stood up, walked to Square Dude's desk, holding her drawing, saying, "I made one too." He looked at it, pause, long pause. He says, "That's something." I turned, "Let me see." I looked, saying, "Oh." Man's peeked, "Is that him?" Aluminum says, "Why is the hat sideways like that?" Eddie snatched it back, saying, "Okay." Square Dude set it down. Sit. Eddie sat embarrassed and is still jealous. Square Dude turned back to the board, then paused, looked at me again, said, "Show it again." I blinked, saying, "Huh?" He says the drawing. I held it up. He looked at it for a second longer this time, then nodded once, said, "Keep it." I smiled, said, "I will." Eddie's jealousy went to level 100. Hey, don't be mad because I can draw better than you now. My drawings are peak. Pencil Fan almost breaks hand, slowly raised head. Kiddo Squirtle looked at her. She froze. Never mind. Foot down. She wasn't risking it. Aluminum nearing insanity. What time is it? No one answered him. He says I'm losing track of reality. Man says good. Aluminum says, is it even real anymore? I say it's non-23. He says thank you. The bell was getting closer. Everyone could feel it. Maz was sweating. Eddie was sulking. Pencil Fan was holding it together barely. I was chilling. Aluminum was watching the clock like his life depended on it, and Square Dude stood at the front watching all of them. The bell. Ring! Everyone jumped up. Maz says, "We're free." Pencil Fan says, "Move." Eddie grabbed her stuff fast. Aluminum says, "What time is it now?" Everyone says 3 o'clock. He says, "Finally." I packed up calmly before leaving. I looked at Square Dude, said still clean. He paused, just slightly said thanks. Another tiny smile. Eddie saw it, said unbelievable. So far, these two got 2 checks. Me and Aluminum chilling with 0, and Pencil Fan got 1. And tomorrow is probably worse.